You can catch me in that RS always.
Yo, we back again.
We are back live.
Hey, very again. So right now, we gonna introduce our guest, Mr. Deonte Staats. And before we get too far into it, Brogy, come on, we gonna break it.
Yo, we gonna start off with it.
We gonna start
Here we
off.
go.
Start off with it,
We'll
man.
start off with it.
Hold on, we pull mine up real fast.
See, I came ready.
Wow.
That's my favorite way to start a podcast now. So thank y'all for that, fellas.
Hey, listen, and that opened up a lot of conversation right there.
Yeah, man. We about
I'm
to
sure
dive
it
in.
do.
We about to dive in for sure.
So, y'all don't know. Y'all know now. This is a legend in the making right now that we speaking to, Mr. Deonte Staats. So, first of all, can you just give us a background exactly what you do, what you want people to really know about you?
All right, I got it. So, well, Deonte, Aggie Pride first and foremost.
Oh yeah, Aggie
Yes,
Pride.
sir.
Oh,
All
the
of
Stacks
it.
too. Oh, all of them.
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
come on. See, we should have led with that.
No,
Yeah.
we should have, right? And Gino
should've
right
led
around
with
the
that.
corner.
We should have led
Yeah.
with that.
So that tells you a little bit about where where they from, and you know where I'm from. I went to A&T for undergrad. Originally from Philly, grew up in Baltimore, and I went to A&T for engineering. I was a computer science major, so I way left field from where I'm at now. But the things that T taught me a lot about my voice and about I always tell people if A&T had a film school, I probably would have found my path a lot sooner. But I think that everything happens for a reason. So I believe that had I found that path sooner than now, it may not have been ready for me. You know what I mean? So I was an English minor, real weird, computer science. Like most computer science people do math and stay in that building.
You did computer and then engineering too?
So I was computer engineering. I was a computer science major.
I mean, I'm sorry, not computer. I'm sorry, English and computer.
So I was minoring in English because anything that was an elective that I could take was in like African American lit, lit studies. Because I've always had that background. I wrote in college. I mean, in high school. But I'm like, I don't want to be a journalist. I don't want to, be a book writer. And TV and film just seemed like something that was too far for me at the time. I didn't know nobody in it. Right. So I didn't have anybody really to like mentor me. And like I said, had, the only real film school that's accredited at an HBCU is Howard. So, we had journalism programs. We had things that I was a part of a bunch of productions that A&T had. And that taught me a lot of lessons that prepared me for the job that I have now. So, I learned a lot in that capacity. Fast forward to where I'm at now, I write for television. I moved to LA about 7 years ago to write for TV. And I've been successful enough that I've worked on a couple of decent shows these days, a couple of for the culture.
Oh, he being humble, y'all. He's
very humble. Very humble.
I said he's being pretty humble. But we're gonna dive into that later.
Okay, cool.
Let's talk about the past though, right? So originally born in Philly.
So
right?
yeah.
And then moved to Baltimore. Like, how old were you when you moved there?
9. So I went to junior high. So like 4th, 5th grade, junior high, and high school was in Baltimore.
Okay. So like, how was that transition for you? Like, was it really hard? Because being 9, I don't think you don't have too many friends that you leave behind. But
it's a weird place.
Yeah,
it's a weird place. And then I would spend summers back home with my grandparents, uncles, and aunts back up there. So it felt connected and disconnected. I felt like I got to learn more about my world. I always suggest to people that the biggest thing you can do once you graduate from high school is get outside of your hometown, because you get a chance to experience other people, other cultures, and that helps you in your business and your just way of life of being able to communicate. So I felt like I already had like the two worlds that I was a part of, but I never really felt like I fit in. So like Baltimore never felt like home. Philly was like, well, you talk different when you come back, so it felt like I was always trying to find my place. So when I went to college, I was like, well, I don't want to go to any school in Philly or Baltimore or Maryland. And I could have went to any Maryland school for free. And I chose to go to A&T and pay money. I had a partial scholarship for engineering, but you know how they do out-of-state students, it's like, oh, at that time they were only taking 5%. So you had to be like at the top of the top to get in. And it was like, yeah, we can let you in, but you gotta be able to pay. So me giving up, I wanted to be close to home, but not close enough that my parents come check up on me on the humble.
Yeah, that's exactly the thought process I had. I literally said, you know what? I could go to like Hampton, but no, that's 2 hours away. That's still close.
So close.
And then it's like VSU. I'm like, I don't want to be in Virginia. And like North Carolina, Greensboro was the perfect 5 hours away.
Yep.
Like you had to call before you came. Like you couldn't just come.
But if you got in trouble, they could get there quick.
Yeah.
Very quick. Very quick. That's what I was gonna say. If you motivated, that 5-hour drive is gonna turn real short, real fast.
Real short.
So like, and trust me, like I understand that whole hassle with the engineering department too, because like I had to come in undeclared, then declare after my sophomore year to finally get into it, because they was like real picky. Like they told me about my ACT score. It was like, yeah, you 1 point off. I'm like, bro, y'all can't just slide me in. They like, either you gonna retake it or you gonna come in undeclared. And I think, I'm not gonna lie, I think that was just my high schoolness being lazy. I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna come undeclared and I'll just grind better. But like, even from there, and you made your decision to go to A&T, what kind of made you switch or get into a different major? Because I see that you graduated a different degree. And so what kind of motivated you to be like, this isn't for me? Because a lot of people switch and a lot of people think too hard about, okay, let me go to the major with a lot of money and things of that nature. What kind of made you like, all right, let me follow my passion. Let me do what I want to do instead of the money.
So I didn't graduate. So I'm like I'm like 2 semesters shy. I left after my junior year because I didn't have a career path. Like none of the schools were offering me anything that I felt like I wanted to do professionally. I'm like, I don't want to be a computer engineer. I went over to the School of Technology for graphic communication systems because I'm like, well, I can design my own campaigns and marketing. So I kind of focused in that. But a lot of that was born by being a part of the social organizations at A&T. So I was a part of a modeling troupe. I was freshman class president. I ran the campaign for student government president. So the person that was her campaign manager that got elected my sophomore year. So like I liked being a part of the comings and goings of that was happening at T. And I realized the production side of that was something I could naturally do and juggle, as well as go to class. Not successfully, but I was still making it to class. But then I realized that with the School of Technology, when I changed my major, I was able to use my campaigns that I was using for work for my classwork. So it was just like, oh, design something for this, this, and this. So the flyer for the club I was promoting that weekend for the event after party I was doing became my project, So I learned to like really make what I was doing work for me, but I didn't think that, T was going to be able to offer something that I didn't know I wanted to do yet. So I went, so I actually ended up, I was working at Bonefish Grill.
I was just about to ask. Hold on. Rogie. Let's get another shot in
Wait,
there.
I need another shot. I need a bottle. Hold on. Let me have one brought up. I'm one behind, so remind me.
The one behind, all right. We gonna remember that too.
Oh okay. Yeah, I'm not gonna forget. Hold on. So
basically what I wanted to know is like
girl,
what I wanted to know is because a lot of people, I think like one thing that social media has done, and we alluded to this like numerous times before, is the process being rushed a lot, and people not necessarily understanding like the success that you see currently wasn't always like there, like there's a story that comes with it. And I think like seeing you work at Bonefish Grill, like I ain't gonna lie, I went on your LinkedIn. I went on your LinkedIn. I was like, Bonefish Grill for 10 years?
Yeah, 12. It's still up there because I want people to know. So I think the craziest thing about it, I went back to T. I took a semester off, and I went back and I was working at Bonefish Grill to pay the bills and everything. I was in state. Finally got in-state tuition. You know how that goes.
Yes.
So I'm like, this Bonefish job I can do at night. And then I took another semester off, and they were like, well, we'll send you to do corporate training and open stores across the country. And when you're ready to go back to school, go back to school. Well, that's how that whole stoppage
Right, absolutely. We know how that shit go.
But I ended up being able to be good at, like I tell people all the time, anything I apply to, I'm pretty damn good at, just because I don't like failing. But also, it may not be the thing I'm most passionate about. So I became really good at this restaurant game. And so I came up from being a server for them. And when I left, I was the regional director from Boston to Baltimore.
Oh wow!
Damn.
Yeah.
Oh, you really moved it up, right?
Oh yeah, you done moved up the ladder.
So like
I took everything I knew, and then also back then I didn't know what I was doing for what was going to prepare me for my current career. But I mostly worked in the bar area, front of the house, like not a lot of the cooking stuff. So I ended up ear jockeying. Like when bored, I would listen to people in their conversations, people arguing, people with their badass little kids, people that cheating, people that's visiting, that's creeping, like all the stuff, you just hear and pick up on, not realizing it was going to help me build characters for the world that I'm in now. But 12 years. And what was great and the blessing in that was that I started working on, I always did spoken word poetry. I did the whole, tour circuit for a bit, which was out of my wheelhouse. I didn't like being on stage. I liked the production side, but being on stage wasn't really my shit. So I found a place where I could end up, I wrote a script because I'm like, I had this idea that needed to be, fleshed out in a different way than I was used to. And then I paid for somebody to give me some notes on it. And he was like, have you ever thought about moving to LA? I'm like, nah, bro. I'm like, this is something to do right now. I don't know nobody in LA. I've been there to visit, but that's not my, I don't feel like that's my people. That was in August of 2014. November 2014, my Bonefish Grill was like, oh, we're getting rid of your department.
Just like
they were like, we're getting rid of all regionals. We can go ahead and promote you to national finally. But I'm like, I got 11 years in. What if I just take the severance package? And they was like, whoa, we ain't trying to lose you. I'm like, nah, bro. I'm like, if I estimate this right, it's like $2 in a dream that I can fund with this, because I had I had over a decade with the company. So I took my severance package. I shot a sizzle reel of my script that I wrote in New York, and that was like my calling card when I was able to move out to LA. I moved to LA August 2015. A year after dude was like, had you ever think about moving? The universe moved for me. He was like, you know what? I'm gonna make you uncomfortable. I'm gonna put you in a space that you ain't got this job no more. Then what you gonna do? Because you say if you needed $1, I'm gonna give you $2.
Listen.
Hey, I'm about to take a shot at you.
I said it for myself. I said it for
myself.
I said Rogie, all right? Damn it.
Like, look, like, for real, that's drops mic. You feel me?
Literally. Cause honestly, and what you can kind of say is that I feel like you were already building that grit. Oh, he getting it now. Got his bottle now. We good money.
Okay.
So what I can say is that what I was saying is that, and don't forget you 2 shots in. You 2 shots in.
2 shots in. Yeah.
There we go. But you can say that your grit that you've been applying for your whole life. There we go. That even when it comes to school, that you knew that, all right, I might not be the best at it, but I'm not going to fail for this as well. Or like, you know what, let me use the talents that I did pick up and use it for my other avenues. So if I got the club, cool, I'll just go ahead and make the flyers for that. And then I'll make that as my homework. So utilizing what you said. And then even the fact that you eavesdropping, being able to like find your resources and all that kind of come together and stuff. So I feel like that was already the path laid out. And then you just needed that one little to just make you kind of realize it. So what can you describe like that process of like even starting off with like making a prop script right there, or going like a short film for that script? Like how was that process?
It was crazy. I have a lot of friends, luckily, that are, like family to me that were in Broadway that worked on Motown. So they were on stage, breaking records and doing all these great things because, it was the first like Black produced musical at the time. And then Hamilton comes along, and there are some friends that are part of that. But I had people that were like living the dream, and I'm hanging out with them in the after party. He's like, "Oh, what do you do?" And I'm like, I managed to, a couple of restaurants. And, still they're like, congratulations, but it's and it was like, oh, your boy told me you write poetry or you write, and I'm like, yeah, but I don't feel like speaking on that yet. It's something about giving words to power. So when it came time to produce something, I relied on the people that were already in that world to like help become my producers. Nothing gets made on your own. You want to go far, go with others. So I had an opportunity to have people that already had connections, new folk that were able to put you in touch with folks that could help you do the things that you weren't strong enough in. I could write, but I didn't know how to actually shoot something. And they were like, oh, you can't actually film all this, bro. Like, this is an hour long. You can, but it's going to look like something else that you not necessarily want. But we can do a version of this that's like just the hottest parts. Like it's a hot track to an album that's going to be coming out soon. And for that became, the focus. And that I thought was just going to be people who have never met me or only knew me as the restaurant dude. They may not want to read a 55-page script from someone who they've never read something before, but they may have 5 minutes to check out a trailer. So that's what I did. I ended up using that to show people that, I'm not looking to just for you to invest in me. Like, I've already invested in myself. I'm looking for you to partner. And that's what television and this whole game is like. No one does all the reading, writing, producing, directing on their own. Like, you have a team of people, and some of that comes with compromise. And if you don't learn that lesson, or if you're only learning it when you get out here, if you never worked in any other kind of business or ever had, to be a boss and as well as be an employee. Some people only get in and they given the keys to the castle. You don't know how to work with others. You don't know how to command a group of people because you ain't never been the people.
Right.
You only ever been the boss. So all of that I brought with me and humbled myself too when I got out here, because I was like, I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm going to show people, here's my link. And if you like it, I'll send you the script. Other people was like, oh, I'm going to send you the script. And if you got some time, read it. It's like, I came in knowing that I needed to jump 2 steps ahead of some other people. Right. And I met a lot of people out here that have been out here for years that had never produced their own work. So I was like, well, I got you. I'm on your ass.
No, man, like, I ain't gonna, like, just hearing you talking about your whole process is motivating, because you kind of understood early, like, what can I do to beat the next man? What can I do to kind of make my chances better? Just like what you said, a million people give out scripts, right? But let me give you this 5-minute trailer, and this is gonna show you everything. And what's like, I think the most important thing you said was like partnership. Like, other people just want somebody to, like, you just tag along with them and then you just ride them or whatever the case is, or you just want them to give you all the money. No, let me build a partnership. That way we can form a good network, a good connection. And that way in future endeavors or whatever the case is, they'll see you as an equal instead of just a help at that point.
Exactly.
I just want to know, like, what was the benefit? Because, like, currently, like, I know a lot of people right now who are working the job and are trying to have a career outside of it. Because I don't think at the end of the day anybody wants to fully just be investing into their career unless that's, just exactly what they want to do.
Right.
But, I think the resilience, is, was most impressive, to me, as far as what you've gone through. Because to be at some place for 10 to 12 years, like 12 years is a long time to be in the restaurant business. Like, you would think like that's your life. And a lot of people get,
Complacent.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and I swear, I'm telling you,
Stuck.
I feel you. Stuck. That's the better word. I
Yeah,
was about to say
yeah.
stuck
Stuck.
because it's like everything becomes routine, and like routine becomes comfortable, and then comfortability becomes complacency, and then it's just the cycle that continues and continues until you get a somebody to just give you a different perspective. And I
So
feel like that is what a lot of people need. And I don't know. I just want to know, like, where was your head at, like, throughout these years? Like, because I know you didn't see this while you were there some days. Like, some days were harder. Like,
nah, I think for me, I think every place I've worked at, even when I kept going up and getting promoted with Bonefish, was like you have to humble yourself to be a student. Like you're gonna be in a place where people can cook better than you, make drinks better than you, have a better grasp of whatever this is, the city, the landscape, and you can learn from them. Humble yourself to always be a student. And so when I moved out to LA, I was like I'd been, on the executive level of corporate restaurants, and I started working for a mom and pop, out here in Crenshaw. And what that taught me was that, oh, I love being around my people, but I don't necessarily want to be caught up working in this restaurant game at this level. So I started slowly dialing it back. I went from assistant GM to manager to my last restaurant job. I was just bartending in Venice Beach because I needed more freedom. I was like, I
right,
can't be doing schedules. I can't be worried about these people's bullshit, that comes with being a manager. I'm like, I need to be in the space. And some of that humbleness comes with like taking a pay cut. You got to invest in yourself. That's still another investment. Like my bills were paid. I just didn't have money to do other shit. And some people don't understand that. Like I'm lucky enough that I didn't have a partner or child that I was responsible to that made me make a decision that was less selfless. Like I could make decisions for me that didn't impact outside other people.
right,
And
right,
in worst case, if I really, really, really needed a check, apply to any corporate restaurant and get hired the next week because
right.
they always needed a me. So
That's
I
smart.
was like, that is like in the back of my mind. I could go back home. Luckily, shout out to my parents. They definitely showed me that. And if the shit gets thick, know that we got you. And some people think that they have to trudge on their own, that they have to make it all in one shot. I know some people that have been out here in LA for a couple of years and then went back. But had I not had that gumption to go back into restaurants, I went and met one of my first, LA mentors. Like one of the people that really helped me out in New York. That's one of my mentors to this day. His name is Lee Edward Colston. He went to Temple. Then he's the first Black male graduate from the Masters of Film and Acting at Juilliard. So like, brother is super talented, but like he from Philly, so he tell you like he
That's
tell you
what's up, man. Yeah.
he hit you so hard with it, and it's like, damn, why am I not doing this? So he was a big emphasis on me getting out here, asking where my head was at. He was on my ear like, bro, I've heard you spend stupid amount of money on stupid shit, on trips or whatever, on kicks. And my class costs X amount of money, costs less than any of that. And you talking about you ain't got it. Like he called me out on my shit. And so when I moved, I kept that in my mind. So when I moved to LA and had to get back in the restaurants to pay some bills, you know, it prepared me because I ended up meeting Lena Waithe right before all of her stuff picked up, before even the Shy came out.
Wow,
She
man.
was in
Hey,
my restaurant. I said, "What's up?" No, I can't drink no more. I'm out.
Oh,
The
you out?
bottle's empty. Bottle
bro.
empty.
God.
Bottle
Listen,
empty.
listen, listen.
We
This is
gonna
a
take a shot
celebration,
for
man.
you.
We are excited because, like, this is just honestly, it's just beautiful to hear because I feel like we all have been in your shoes. I feel like that's why, like, this is just, I don't know, it's just hitting me differently, but it's
No,
like,
I appreciate y'all having me because, especially talking to both of y'all from A&T, so like y'all know exactly, literally where I've been.
yeah,
You
like,
know?
I know what it's like,
Exactly. It's literally like you like how they say, right? You set the blueprint for and right now we just listening, we just trying to follow the plan, getting that wisdom right now. You know what I'm saying?
that's really it. Because I feel like right now I suffer from that. I work, obviously, everybody tries to make it, or we try to do our thing on the outside, but at the end of the day, like, you got to understand that diligence, or things that you have to do in a certain time doesn't necessarily mean forever. I feel like you have to like train your mind to not be stuck. I think that's what's imperative, because it's so easy to do. Like, we all can get into a routine. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all can get into a routine. Like, we all can get comfortable. Especially as you get older, things just start to become like, oh, well, I go to work, I come home, I do this. Like, I'm able to survive, I'm able to go on trips, so I'm able to do certain things, but am I really, challenging myself? And I just feel like you becoming uncomfortable change your life. And I feel like that is what I want to encourage everybody to do. Like, being uncomfortable really can change your life. Like, you got to jump.
Yeah. I mean, and it's faith, it's sight unseen. You may not have somebody there on the other side to catch you, but I think, I was competitive. I played, Pop Warner. I played, college, high school sports and intramurals and such. So like, we are taught like win at all costs. All you do is win. But what they don't tell you is that you should, in this business, or like and especially when reaching, you're gonna fail, and you're gonna fail often. And you need to get comfortable with that shit, because that just makes you stronger for the next time, because no one gets it the first try. No one gets everything they want the first time. It came easy to them, but it's like, as something they're gonna have to work a little bit harder at. And if they've never, failed, like I think we live in a system sometimes where they give participation awards. Like, all you need to do is just show up, and that's not it. Sometimes you have to work harder. Like, I tell people, you gotta show up and show out. Like, if you only got one time,
you gotta be remembered.
you do, and that doesn't mean to be disruptive, but it means to just like, I need you to know that he does his job, or that he looks this way. So, I because we haven't talked about it, I might as well just do it now, because I've been dancing around it. So I've had the fortunate opportunity to work on some amazing television shows. One of them being The Shy on Showtime, and currently
my favorites.
Currently I work on Bel Air. I'm on its second season.
Hey, Bel Air's hard.
And I was going to ask you about all that too, because I wanted you to first to kind of continue just about like how you met her at the bar.
Oh yeah. So I'll go back to that. So, showing up and showing out kind of continues in that. Like, I didn't want to make sure when people come into your space, you don't want to make them feel uncomfortable, whether it's the job you work at, if you meet them on the street or what have you. So I'm always of the thought that if I met you now, I can meet you again. It was really supposed to be that. And I'll remind you of this next time if you don't remember. Or if it happens more genuine, like, I just don't want to be like, oh, well, read my work and shit, after I first met you.
Yeah.
So I told her I was a big fan. Congratulations on The Shy getting picked up on Showtime. And I was like, I know someone that's in your camp. She asked who, told him who it was. We ended up vibing from there. She was like, well, hit me up. I'd love to like talk to you for like 15 minutes and see where we're at, because at the time I didn't realize she was beginning the Hillman grad program of mentorship, and I was one of the first fellows. She ended up paying for me and 3 other Black men to take a course, my first course actually out here in LA, which helped me. Those Black guys are my first. I call them my first draft readers, but like, those are my homies. Like, we've come up together, we've had success out here in this business, but because they're the people that have known me and seen my work grow. So she gave me that networking community, and I know you probably heard her and Issa Rae speak about it often, that you have to network across. Because when you get in this business, you're gonna meet a lot of people above you, and it's just like, what they doing, talking to the people next to them. So it's just like, you gonna rise if you see the same people at the same events doing the same things, and when you go to the next level and you see them there, that's your people's. Like, you are going to be the people that eventually are going to be sitting across from each other or collaborating. So grow together with them, because often they have the same kind of hunger you do, at the same kind of level, the same kind of intensity. And some people, you come in too hot, it's like, all right, look, I ain't doing that no more. Like, I did that before, but now I need someone that's on the same page with me, that's trying to develop, or whatever their space may be. So that relationship, I continued through the Hillman grad beginning stages, and meeting so many dope writers, so many Black writers. One of them being Justin Hillian, who is from Clinton Hill, Maryland. So you know, us being from the DMV area and Maryland in general, like we had a lot to be connected on. So when he was promoted to the showrunner of season 3 of The Chi, he needed an assistant. He was a first time
Right.
showrunner. I interviewed for the job, and by proximity, we realized I was like, yo, you the people's. And then it was like, can you do the job? I'm like, oh yeah, I ran a whole corporation. Like I can do the job. If it's just assistant work, yeah. And I'm also will hope that I can add to anything or take anything off your plate. And hope that your first year that results in you being asked back and so on and so forth.
Right.
And so he has been the showrunner since. So seasons 3, 4, and 5, he was. And so I went from being his showrunner's assistant to being the writing assistant for season 4, and I co-wrote the penultimate episode 9 last season of The Chi, season 4. So not the one this year, from last year.
Listen, I'm telling you, like them leaps right there. Like, how did it feel? Like you seeing this, you like, damn. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a writer. I see that. I wrote that shit. I'm flexing to everybody. I'm calling. This is me right here. Hey, I'm flexing. I'm letting them know because you came a long way from Auntie Bonefish. Now you just got an episode, and it's just like I know. Like, how did you have to feel looking at it, the premiere of that?
It was so much happening.
What was the breathtaking moment? Yeah, like what was the?
It was so much happening. I mean, like, not to bring this down at all. So, like, personally, I had my mom had been diagnosed with cancer during that same year when I was writing my episode, and it was a cancer storyline. So it was like all this crazy shit that was happening that was like very similar in my life. And she ended up passing last summer, like a week after my episode too. So it was like all kinds of stuff that was crazy. So like, in spirit, like, I'm tatted, on my wrist for her. And she was like, I tell everyone she held on to see my episode. Like we talked about it right after it aired. So that's what I remember about it. Like my mom talking to me and being like, she enjoyed it. Like she loved that shit in general. Like she loved the ratchet kind of TV and all that kind of stuff. So being able to share that with her all these years and her seeing, my episode was kind of like the culmination for me. Writing it actually is like third on the list for me. Sharing it with the people, like I had a small screening, not even like a big joint, but like 45 people, so kind of big, but like, people that have seen me out here since I met and got in this space. And then my mom and them, because they saw it on the East Coast, talking to them before we watched it all together was like a big moment. And just like the beginning, like I felt like I had just cracked the ceiling, or cracked the code almost. It's like once you know the cheat code for the game, it's like, well, let me start from the beginning and see what I can learn, because I've just been in a position where I've been able to hopefully, continue in a space that allows me to grow as a writer, but as a person too. I've learned so much in this last 2 years. But writing that episode, I was given so much grace by my co-writer. Her name is Jewel Cornell. And then my showrunner who trusted in me, Justin, and then Lena, all of those things syncing together. And then writing an episode that I had a very personal connection to, all just meant that's something you can't really plan, So it was just something that's kind of surreal for me. I tell people writing for TV or writing in general is like, specifically writing is the closest thing to magic that I know. It's like the thing I think I can put into something that somehow comes out. And it may not even be the spell I thought I was going to do, but it does something like it came from nothing and now it's something. It's different than building, because building, you have materials. Me, you start from writing, you start from scratch and you build a world that, people live in and people comment about, and that to me is magical. And that's why I tell a lot of people the things that we do out here in LA is not real. Like it can't be. because if it was real, everyone would be able to do it, you know? This is like, so this has to be magic. Like the fact that, and that's why a lot of people that come out here that aren't somebody before they get here, and I'm not saying of note, but like if you don't have any experience, if you come out here right after high school, if you haven't lived a life before, sometimes this shit can eat you up because you build yourself up with the things that you think you're going to be or like you want to be. Like, well, I want to be this actor. So every time I talk is going to be about acting things. And it's just like, but you were a person before that, right? Like, what did you want to do before that? You know, like I wanted to be a computer engineer. You know, like people are like, oh, I always wanted to be an actor. I'm like, that's great. But what do you, like, what drives you outside of that? Like, if you're going to act tomorrow, what gets you up in the morning? And I just don't think that you get to a lot of those conversations out here with people. They're not as, it's not the topic that comes up. Like on the East Coast, you may be having, you can have this same conversation with someone at the bar and have a dope interaction and then leave. In LA, it's just like, oh, let me get your information because you might be someone I want to contact with someday or work with. I'm just like, or no. Like, you know, like this was cool, but like I don't know you. Like, and I don't even talk to my real friends that much because I'm so fucking busy. So allow this to be, if we see each other again, cool. That's what that means we're supposed to do this again. But like sometimes it just don't, like I'm just not about to hang out with people unnecessarily, not because just because their energy is on a line. Like I'm on a different vibe, I'm on a different, you know. I was a huge football fan, fellas. Huge. Like I was trying to hit every stadium.
You a Ravens fan?
Nah, y'all gonna hate me.
You an Eagles fan?
No,
you a what?
Worse. See, I told you we get into
what you
right now.
Nah, listen. I don't
what do you say?
Cowboy. I'm a Steelers fan.
I was a
Cowboys.
Listen. I was growing up. I had two uncles that were, and then we had moved from Philly, so Baltimore didn't have a team at the time. So it was a lot of crazy shit happening. But I'm gonna tell you this because I want y'all to really feel me on this. So Cap got kicked out of the league. I decided to stop watching football. All my people was like, you'll be back next season. Next season rolls around. Still haven't watched a single game. Fast forward 5 years later, I have not watched a single game since a halftime show. And I gave up the Cowboys 2 years ago because their politics didn't align with who I was becoming. Like the whole owner mentality, Dak and his tap dancing. Like I know enough about the structure of the game. Like he played all the games and was parroting the shit the front office was saying, you know, to try to get that max contract. So I'm just like, oh no, like you pulled the house nigga move. And I'm like, I'm not about that. You know, so I'm like, if I come back to the league, it will only be if Cap's in or there's a majority Black owner in it. So until then, I haven't watched. So my friends joke with me. They was like, you know how they say to get into the Illuminati, you gotta sacrifice the thing you love the most. It was football at the time, I think.
See, but that goes key to your discipline right there, though, because
yeah, man, for real. Because I could listen. I could never give up football. Like,
I was mad
when I quit. I was in 3 fantasy football league teams. I ran one. I was in 2 others. Like I was deep.
You sound like me right now, because I run one and I'm in 2 others right now, and I'm like, I was mad. I was pretty pissed off when Cap left. I mean, but I was like,
listen, I'm an Eagles fan. I wanted to see us win the Super Bowl. I seen my bowl. I ain't gonna lie to you. Had to see my bowl, man.
I'm gonna tell you right now. When I quit watching football, the Eagles had not won a Super Bowl. So as far as I'm concerned, I've never seen an Eagles Super Bowl win.
Well, that's your fault. That's your fault. I'm about to say, you ain't get a chance to see Nick Foles.
Who?
To see Nick Foles.
Who?
Oh, to who? So like coming for your like let from what I ain't gonna lie, even the football, right? That can kind of show, that can be a signifier your like again, like of your discipline, right? Because you really stuck to your word, even though you loved it, right? You said, you know what, because it morally went against what I believed in, or I don't accept what they're doing, I'm gonna end it right there.
Plus, I had no time. Like, I'm supposed to be writing and shit, and I'm Sunday all day, Monday night, Thursday games, Saturday playoffs, fixing my roster. Like, who had time to do that and then outline, write, come up with characters, follow up on things that I'm supposed to be doing for the passion that I'm supposed to have. And it's like, this is a hobby that really ain't, like, you ain't in the league, bro. Like, this ain't your team. You say we, but that's not your team. So, like, just saying. So, like, you really out here, like, getting in heated arguments, conversations with people at the bar for no reason when you could be home watching TV to a point for like learning. I ain't saying that TV, like watching TV for me became, I can't say that I turn it off now. Like when I watch programming, I'm in the production design, hair, I'm in like all of the writing, cinematography. Like there's so many things I'm invested in that becomes part of the job. So like that could be considered homework. Football, you really can't sell that, especially the time I was investing in it. So it felt easy to give up, at least the first year. Actually, no, the first year was hard as shit. I ain't gonna fake. Like, no cap. I was sitting here like, my friends were watching, like, you trying to come to the bar? I'm like, nah, but being on the West Coast helped because games will start at 10 a.m.
Yeah, fact.
So it's like you miss most of them if you've been out. So I would just stay out later on Saturday and wake up at 1 o'clock and you missed the whole first half. So
well, I ain't thinking about that.
That's good thinking, because when 1 o'clock hit,
oh yeah,
do not disturb. Don't worry about it.
I had to ask this too, man. I loved what y'all did with Bel Air. Cause I ain't gonna lie, as we all know, Fresh Prince was like a hit.
Near and
That
dear.
was a hit. Like a hit.
But
like
Bel
one
Air
of
is
the
a hit of its own.
TV shows of our generation. And what Bel Air did that I love was the twist. Like I love like the different perspective that it brought. Like, this is Fresh Prince, but this is like,
you don't know this family.
Yeah, like this is completely different.
Different family.
Where was your head at as far as like, when you were writing the episodes?
Well, so I'm just on the new season. So I wasn't a part of season 1. I just joined this summer. But shout out to Morgan Cooper, Rashid Newsom, and TJ Brady. They were the showrunners as well as the original creator of the proof of concept. So that's what that's called. Morgan Cooper created that proof of concept. That was that original trailer that blew up, that got Will Smith and Westbrook's attention. And then from there, NBC Universal picked it up. I think what makes it different than some of the other reboots is because it's not a direct pull. Like they didn't try to do the comedy again. And I think with that, we just have a better understanding of like what it takes to be Black and then affluent. A lot of times we see a lot of our programming, it lives in like this trauma space where you got to get over, or this upcoming, and this is like Fresh Prince of Bel Air always stood out as different because these people had money, they had different problems, but the comedy really it didn't have enough time to deal with it. Right. It maybe got a couple beats and then we moved on and it was solved by the end of the episode. With this, I think we just get an opportunity to just look at some of these real families that have grown up with money and trying to raise Black kids in a space that isn't often Black. And what is Blackness when you aren't in a Black culture, but your parents are, or right. As an adult, you choose to be a part of it. Like, yeah, I grew up in Bel Air, but now I live here, or I'm a part of these groups. I think this time we get an opportunity to like just spend a little more with each of the characters, which just automatically makes them more fuller. So I think the first season was great. I think the Philly aspect for me, like the pilot, I want to speak to that more than anything. The fact that they spent time in Philly felt so nostalgic to me. I get homesick very, very few times when I watch TV because I just don't see my city, or they don't use Philly or Baltimore that often, and when they do, it's usually for like the worst reasons. But like Creed was the first time, like I cried when they was doing dirt bike scenes in Creed, like really? Because for me, like dead ass when they was doing that slow ass Meek Mill build up in the background and then the dirt bike slow motion, I was like, damn, I miss my city, because I was like, I haven't been around that aspect of it in so long. And my god brother, he had been killed when we were in my 20s. So I would always just be in North Philly with him doing stuff like that. So it was just kind of nostalgic in a way. And the pilot of Bel Air kind of existed in that space for me that the original never did. They never went back to Philly, you know. So starting there, I think it just immediately changed the game for me as far as what like reboots could be. Not saying everything needs to be that, but I think if we're going to reimagine some things, I wouldn't mind, you know, giving some more money, giving some more time to some Black shows that paved the way for like, oh, us, you know what I mean?
You know, and I feel that too, because even with that reboot, I think the number one thing, like the nostalgia feeling, right? Like you just talked about that. As a child, when we kind of watched Fresh Prince, because we was like really young watching it, right? And like you kind of like you get that feel of back in the day and things. The one thing I did appreciate so much is that with Bel Air, like granted, they didn't try to replicate, like you said, they didn't try to replicate what they did in the past and try to do all they could have did in the 90s and try to do it over. And I think it would have went bad because then it's like, all right, now you just copying it word for word, lick for lick, scene for scene. Here it's like, let me modernize it to what a Fresh Prince would look like nowadays.
Today.
Yeah. Right, yeah, like
and it's real life, like something you can't like. I would say you can't really beat. And so my thing too, because if season 2, I don't want you to, you know, granted,
I ain't giving nothing up. They're gonna kill me.
Oh yeah, I was about to say, I know he can't give us none.
Are you just excited working with it? Because like I remember I seen it at Soho. Granted, listen, I was with my OG John. I was with John, and he said so. He was just telling me about they did something like a little speech or something, like a panel or something, and like all the people from Bel Air was there. I think
in Miami.
In Miami,
ABFF. Yep.
So I was talking to somebody, I think maybe it was like a mentor, someone was in the program. He was out there. He like, damn, like you missed out on the panel. That's what everybody, I said, for real? Like everybody was there. So I don't know if it was God just saying, shut up, like you went to work and just be satisfied. But like I'm telling my girl, I'm like, damn, I would have missed work to go to the panel. He tell me about this. Yeah. That's how you know they walk over. I'm talking about Jazz, Aunt Viv.
The whole
Jazz,
crew.
Aunt Viv, Uncle Phil. Yep. And who else? Dang,
was Jeffrey there?
Was Hillary there?
She wasn't there.
Coco wasn't there. Okay.
Her and Will, I think they was somewhere else in Carlton. They was somewhere else. But I'm sitting like arm to arm with Aunt Viv. Now, granted, I'm like, I know you got some sense, but this damn Aunt Viv. And to me, the old Aunt Viv, new Aunt Viv, this Aunt Viv. I'm like, damn. So like, do you ever get like starstruck on set or anything? Or
100%. 100%. So I think there's just like a fine line. Like I tell people often that I'm a huge fan, especially if it's something for like they're not familiar, like their biggest work. You know, because oftentimes you've been watching people for a while. So like I love giving people their flowers, you know, when I get a chance to meet them. And then I just kind of leave it at that. You know, if it's like, so like Luke James is on The Shy. So I remember when I first met him, I told him one of my favorite songs, like, you know, bro, like that's my shit, you know, and then, you know, and it's kind of cool because I don't want you to think that like I'm some starstruck fan because I know shit got to get done. I think the only time that ever happened, and I wasn't even in the industry yet, so I think I kind of excused myself for it. I've had the opportunity to meet Angela Bassett a few times. One of my best friends was her godson. So she was doing Mountaintop on Broadway with Samuel Jackson. We go up to a dressing room. Kerry Washington's coming out. We taking pictures with Angela Bassett and such in her dressing room. Cool. She was like, well, I'm hungry. Y'all want to go get a bite to eat? Yo, we in the booth with Angela Bassett. I'm bugging. So I'm like, okay. And meanwhile, she's the biggest celebrity in the place. So there's other like Broadway people that have come to the same spot. And they're like, can we get a picture and all that kind of stuff? And they're like, they don't know who we are. And they're like, oh no, we want you in it too. I'm like, I'm nobody. But you know, it's like, it's just in that space, the love that was shared with someone you were with. That same friend, I was at Angela Bassett's 60th birthday party, and you can just imagine the celebrities that were there. And
Right.
you just tell yourself before you get out the car, it's just like, don't act a fucking fool. So you just like, all right, cool. With that as being that said, I ain't gonna take too many pictures. If something happens naturally, cool. But I had such a great time that I ended up getting pictures with a lot of people, not Angela at the time, because I didn't feel like this your day,
Right,
and I
right.
don't want to be like,
Yeah.
oh, you remember from the last time, and she may have, but I didn't feel like we had a couple group situations, group pictures and stuff that we're in, but like she is. Just this year, my friends got married, that same friend, on New Year's, and she was at the wedding. There was probably 100 and some odd folk there. So humble, so nice. She took pictures with all the people that wanted to take pictures with her. Like just that kind of level of woman. I was like, lady, I'm gonna let these people do the starstruck shit. I've already got a picture with you once in my life. I ain't gonna ask to be struck by lightning twice,
Right.
so I'm gonna be good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
See, I feel the same way when I was in Brandon Marshall. Like I was with my homie, he was working with him, and I'm with them. And granted, we at the Super Bowl party, and we in the Sprinter, and I'm just like, don't blow this shit, please don't blow this
Big
shit. 'Cause it's like,
ballin',
yeah,
shot
'cause I'm like,
caller.
this is
Y'all
Super
hear? Y'all
Bowl.
talking about that boy said he was in a sprinter with B
Hey,
Marshall.
Sprinter.
Listen. I was over here
The
like,
Benz sprinter.
hey, shout out to B Marshall for that too. I ain't gonna hold you. But like, I was just like, damn, like I understand what you're saying when you like, I ain't trying to be no starstruck because you could have been in the camera. I could have had the Instagram, like, look what the fuck we had, But I'm just like, I act like this ain't your last time. Cause like,
It ain't gonna be your last time.
I don't
It ain't gonna be
believe
your
that
last
like
time,
me
dude.
being around someone as famous or even opportunities like that would never be my last time. So let me not even like prepare, but let me just get adjusted. Like let me just get adjusted to this because this ain't the first and ain't gonna be this
This
the
gonna
first,
be your this
but it
gonna
ain't
be your
gonna be
new
the
normal.
last.
Yeah, this gonna be your new normal. Like
Precisely.
once you normalize this shit, it's just like, oh yeah, I see celebrities all the time. It's not like, oh, I'm not over it. Like, yeah, but I ain't gonna be bugging out and shit. It's like because one day we're gonna be sitting across from each other and then be like, yo, bro. I remember seeing you walk across the street one time and I'm like, I wanted to be all up in your face, but I didn't. I played it cool. And it's like,
Right.
oh no, you could have came and spoke. I'm like, because that's honestly how they really feel. So it's like, I'm glad you didn't, but like I respect that you recognize it. Like, sometimes it's just not the space. And sometimes that's when like the best vibes are created, when people can be themselves, not
Right.
fearful that you're gonna pull out their phone and capture every moment. And I don't think I think creativity is killed by that sometimes. Like like people can't connect genuinely because the moment is killed by a flash or, like pulling yourself out the moment because, oh, can we get a flick? Like, even especially if it's at the last moment, like I'm good with that. If it's like we've been kicking it all day, this was great and everything. And there may be one of those opportunities. But if you really think it's gonna come back to you, fuck it. Like roll the dice. Like, and then for me, I've been on, and not to say that I ain't had times when I hit and I didn't make it, but that's just like I said, you gotta fail. Like, and it's not like I failed to, and I use this often because I ended up teaching a workshop of how to break into the business, like, utilizing your skills, the resume that you may have already, and how that can translate to being an assistant or, working in TV. And I tell people that, you have to be able to make sure that happy to be here, easy to work with, but also you really can't like know what your ask is. Like everyone gonna want something. It's just like, I hope you read my work, or if there's a job or something you think of. A lot of people come out here and they just, like you said, attach themselves to people because they're of the star power rather than networking across, and they just don't have the idea behind it. It's like, great, that's one thing. In TV, you gotta have a bunch of things because that one thing is being done by HBO, so we can't do that one thing. What else you got? You know, like and being a writer too ain't just about being a writer. Being a showrunner is like the goal. Like you can write a show, you can come up with it, but being a showrunner means knowing the business of hair, casting, marketing, branding, ad sales, hiring for crew. Like that becomes something that becomes a muscle that you use and work because you worked with people before, and that's just not something they teach you. You know, you got to kind of live that experience. And a lot of people that are teaching one way or another, you know, about, oh, this is how you do it. If they ain't in it right now, if they ain't been in it in a few years, it's changed. It's all changed since
Right.
COVID. Things are via Zoom. You know, it's like, oh yeah, you know, you got to go up to the board. I'm like, board? I'm like, all that stuff is done online. Like, get out of here.
Right.
You know, like it's just no one has all the keys to the castle. Like there's so many doors open in the castle now.
Right.
And I think a lot of people that have got in maybe like 5-10 years ago, they only were able to open the door, not realizing that once you got in, you can push the garage button. All of us can get through now. Like it ain't gotta be one by one, you know. And I think we're just starting to see that.
That's the key thing. Once you get in, you gotta push that garage button, let us all through. Now we all
Open windows, back doors, cellars, everything.
Shit, everything.
And then I got 2 questions, and then I'm a wrap. I don't want to take too much of your time.
Oh, good. I appreciate y'all, fellas.
So, because I looked at a la carte. So, being a la carte, I always say it wrong. A la carte, right? So, so being like, I would say one of the lead main writers. You were one of the lead.
I was the head writer for it.
That boy is drug. Okay,
No.
I ain't gonna lie. He is drug. He tried to get it out.
A la carte.
I hate
That's
him
why I
fighting
stopped.
to get
That's
it
why I
out.
stopped. Shit.
Look. A la carte is hard to get out. It's a tongue twister, right? But so you was a lead writer, right? So tell us about that experience, just being a lead writer. So because clearly, like you came from just being assistant, helping out. Now you the lead writer. How does that feel? That it's coming like to finally see that, and what kind of how does it feel to work with a network, the Black network, right? How does it feel to work
All Black network?
Yeah, the all Black network. How does it feel to work with such a unique network like that? And as well,
It was great. It was great. I mean, look, I'll tell you this. It came to me. Shout out to Brianna Hogan. I'm blanking on what her new last name is. She just got married a few months ago, but Brianna Hogan created a la carte and had brought these really rich characters to this world, and I was able to partner with her and Dijon Talton to help really flesh this out. Brianna is known in the publicist world, and this was like her first big writing project, and they brought me in to add some structure, some of the things that I knew from the world. And Dijon he directed all the episodes. So he had the executive eye on what it could be. So all of them were really influential, as well as our partners at All Black and the people behind the scenes that helped us in the writing room and crew. But I really have to shout out the cast, they really brought those people to life in a way that none of us could have seen. You hope, especially when it's a new show, that and it's on a network that's newer, like All Black, that it resonates. But sometimes, with so much content out there, shit just misses sometimes.
Right.
But I think it just fits in the gap of shows that we don't have, like being in your mid-20s to late 20s, trying to figure it out. Most of the cast are transplants to LA, so they're supposed to be trying to figure shit out. I feel like Insecure was meeting them right after they kind of figured it out. It's just but we didn't have really a lot of shows seeing us fuck up and fail. It's just I made the wrong decision. I chose the wrong dude or girl. I quit the wrong job, or I took the wrong job. That's I think a part of your 20s. And it's not always, I got to be the perfect person for my family and shit. And because it can be comedic, I think we just had so many great moments that we were able to capture in 6 episodes. So if we get a season 2, hopefully we can continue with that, and really speak to people that, like we talked about before, that's not about trauma or struggle. They got a few dollars, they spending them at the bar and club. Okay, that's what you do in your 20s. It's like, but my bills are paid, stay out my pocket. You know what I mean?
I just how I be. As long as my bills paid, then I can.
My bills are paid. My mom's favorite saying is, "Don't count my money."
Listen, you can never go wrong with that saying right there. So then, so my last question, right? I'm a film writer. Inspiring film writer. I'm listening to this.
Hold on. Have you written something before?
Well, okay, not me, but them.
Oh, okay, got it. In general, yeah.
I actually am though. I actually am.
So let me get that to anyone.
Before.
When people say aspiring, it's so interesting to me because I'm like, have you written something before? And they're like, oh yeah, you ain't aspiring anymore. You done did the shit. Don't look for validation. Creation is about you doing the shit from beginning to end. Whether it's good or bad or not, it's for other people's interpretation. But once you create it for yourself, once it's done, you are not aspiring. You are a writer. Once you try to put it out for other people's feedback, that's the business of it. And those two are different. And I don't think we always talk about that. So that's why I was saying, like, when people use aspiring, like, have you written something before? Because if you have, you ain't aspiring. You may be a baby writer or a new writer, but you ain't aspiring no more. Because aspiring means I'm thinking about a project. You've already done it. And a lot of people you meet ain't done the shit yet.
I like that. I love that terminology right there. So let's say a baby writer coming up. I got a couple things that I wrote, but I don't know what to do with it. Or what are the next steps for me? Because I think just like you said, interpretation is the thing when it comes to it. I think my writing is amazing. I just don't know what the next steps are to do with that. What would you, or what advice would you give to that person?
No, that's good. I think first thing is, like, you can't write in a bubble. Nowadays it's like, do you have a writing group? Are there people that have read your work? No one wants to be the first person to give you feedback. Right. It's like, I'm basically your child's first teacher and I'm telling you that your child is bad. You don't want to be the first teacher to do that. Like, you want to be like, yeah, I realized that my child could use a little more work in these areas. Like I tell people, like, my kids are my scripts. So it's just like you send them off to school for other people to check on them, grow them, do the things, and you get feedback. And it's just like, yeah, that's your teacher's interpretation of your child. And you kind of have to discern some of that. So some of that can be done through getting a script doctor or like someone to consult, or like submitting it to somewhere to get coverage or feedback on it, to talk about the things that are working or the things that aren't working. If you're in like a group of people, or it's easier in LA, sometimes it's on Facebook and groups, you can find groups of people that are looking to write that particular genre that you're interested in. Because, getting feedback from a drama writer about comedy ain't what you want, because it's just not the same kind of structure.
Right.
So finding like people, tribe people that, are in the same space, and then taking classes. It's like any other thing. If this was a sport, you would say you go to conditioning, you go to the weight room. So like, get your weight up. Like, people don't want to hear that you've never been in a course, that you've never taken classes, that you've never done work for the project that you're working on. Because that's what it is. And when you get in the writer's room, is you're working that shit out with other people. It ain't written all out from beginning to end. Right. It's something that there are very few people that write all their characters. And that's because they can't speak to all those experiences. And there are some that do, but I think the more true or the more realistic characters that exist are when you have a room of people that are filled with those people, whether they be different nationalities, sexualities, from different cultures, from different age groups, because it really then it gives an authentic experience to the story that you may be trying to tell. That me, I'm like, oh yeah, my boy does that. And this is like, well, but your boy ain't gonna tell you this part because I actually lived it. And I'm gonna share this with you, and I think building teams like that helps television grow, because my favorite shows during TGIF growing up, Family Matters and shit, when a serious topic happened on the show, you talked about it with your family afterwards. It's like, what would you do in that scenario? Because that allowed you to have dialogue about the real world. And I think often in our families, especially Black families, you may have worked the whole day, ate dinner, no one really asked you about what was happening in your day. Kids to parents, parents to kids, just because that may be the routine that you're in. But something you watch can open up the door for you and be like, have you experienced racism at your job or at your school? Or have you had, did you feel comfortable talking about your sexuality? Like all these different things, I think shows now, especially Black shows, are just getting a chance to touch on. White shows have had it for a while, where they've had all the different topics. And it's like, now it's like, I ain't saying just make it Black to make it Black, but it's like that conversation will look different. That family will look different. And to be able to tell people that you may get feedback from people that don't live or have never lived or don't know anyone in that experience, you always can't take it from them. Like if it's structure related, take those notes. Like find the note behind the note sometimes. But it's like, oh, I don't identify with that character. It's like, yeah, you're from Omaha. Sorry. Like you just not gonna get it. And that's okay. Because I'm not writing for Omaha. I'm writing for Open Locker. I'm writing for, Baltimore. I'm writing for Cherry Hill. I'm writing for, Kent Ridge. I'm writing all for these people that I know haven't had the chance to see themselves on TV before. Like, have y'all seen a show about DC kids besides Swagger? Swagger's the first one of like the DMV.
I ain't even seen that.
Literally.
And even then, Swagger for me, the thing that is missing, like there's no go-go. Like outside anywhere, outside in one car. And I'm just like, it'd be on someone's radio station. And I think when we hear about other territories or cities, the music you're going to hear.
Yeah,
like,
I feel like it's publicized way more, like Atlanta, Cali, like even Texas. For
sure. So I think just being authentic, knowing, and sometimes like I told people when the first thing I wrote, the thing that I did the teaser for, I knew it was something that you probably weren't going to see for 10 years. It was about a bisexual press secretary whose personal relationship got in the way of his job. Well, so funny because there's now a lesbian Haitian press secretary for the president of the United States. And I wrote that script 9 years ago. So I know it's like people weren't ready for it because they couldn't see it. It's like, oh yeah, there would never be one of them. And then now there is. So sometimes you just gotta, some of the best projects take a little more time and like sitting on. Like that's why I say you gotta have something more in your arsenal. So once you've written one good script, work on the next. Like keep working on it. Like some people are like, oh, I've wrote the whole season. TV don't work like that. TV is like you need to have the pilot needs to be sharp. Keep rewriting it over and over. I rewrite my sample at least once a year just for the idea that certain things have changed in the world. So it can't be the same. So you gotta continue to like continue working so that your portfolio speaks to who you are. Other hour-long dramas, if you're an hour-long drama writer, having another comedy, not the same kind of comedy, but something different. So people can really get a taste of who you are and also see what you can bring to the table, because every writer is not a showrunner, but every showrunner is a writer. They may not be a good writer, but they know how to do the work. And every writer can't be a showrunner because some people don't know how to be a boss. So it's just like you got to go through some of these steps before, and the things that you have done in your past life, career-wise, is valuable. Don't let anyone tell you that it's not. Sometimes you just need someone to look at your resume and be like, and pull your skills differently. So, there are people that out there that do that. I hope to be able to create and extend my nonprofit into that world like I did before with teaching. But, as I grow, I hope to have other people that I've mentored in those spaces give back, because until there's a film school and around the corner, or until there are AV programs in high schools, so that, it's because everyone, all of our little cousins from 13 up got phones. They can make movies. Like these little African kids that we see that are doing these renditions of full feature-length movies with their own phones, that level just needs to be seeded and invested and say, you know what? There's a space for you. There's a school for you. There's a program for you, and we just don't know that exists. A lot of other cultures know that they have that or have that in their schools. So it's built in. So they get a couple of head steps ahead of us, but they're not as creative. You know, I'm not saying that they are less, but they can't speak to our experience. So whenever you feel like the creative bug, like I got into that poetry and it's manifested now into like TV writing, you know, being a creative isn't something you lose. It's something you got to use. And when you use it for business to help others, you know, it only can help you. Like it really, if you do this for yourself, it will reward you. If you do this for the business, it can financially reward you, you know, all of those things, but they aren't always the same path. I'm trying to make them bitches line up as close as possible for me, you know, but in the process, you know, I'm grateful that I get to reinvent myself, but also stay true to, you know, the experiences that I had. Like I'm an Aggie, I'm from Philly, I grew up in Baltimore, you know, and I've had this, you know, I tell people that as a bartender, I pour drinks so that people could tell me their secrets. So, you know, that's where I'm at. That's why I stopped drinking.
See, he like to talk about somebody fighting. I'm looking at him and he's over here fighting. So he talking about drinking. I'm just saying, I'm looking good.
Oh, it's what's like 8, 9 o'clock over there?
Yeah, it's about 9 o'clock over here.
Yeah.
So I can see why he fighting. I can see why you fight. You have a long day, you drinking. Nah, you know, it's gonna hit you. But nah, for one, we super appreciative for your time.
Man, this is amazing, man. For real, so many gems, but honestly, just an honor to really just, you know, just be,
this is a great interview. I appreciate y'all.
I think the one thing that like people can really take away is that, for one, you weren't. And not even saying you weren't complacent. You didn't. And it's not like you knew a bigger goal, but you knew once the opportunity presented itself, go chase for it. And then another thing that's key, and I think people probably will overlook, is that every step that you left or every step that you upgraded, you took notes from that, and then you used that as an elevation or as a stepping stool to go further. So right, you already ran a business. You at school, so you know how to work hard at something. So that you know how to work hard at something that's important, right? You done went to Bonefish Grill where you're the manager. You're working there for 13 years. So now you understand the grit. You understand how to run the business. You understand how to run the show. So when things get flustered, it's okay. I've been good with it. You got to the point. Oh, my bad. I was just going to go ahead.
I was just piggybacking on that, but honestly, it's just that I want anybody to take away that he was us. Most people are in that position right now. Most people were in his position, necessarily not knowing what the future would look like, what it will hold, like, or what it's even supposed to be. And it's okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all right to just understand that at the end of the day, my journey is my journey. And whatever I'm going through is always going to be my testimony for what's to come. And honestly, I just feel like you just exemplified that, man. It's just really great to see. Honestly.
No, I appreciate y'all. You know, and like I said, you know, you can have a plan, but like a lot of that plan to change because, you know, ain't nothing written in stone and no one knows what's coming ahead around the corner. So, you know, you got to roll with the punches. Don't look for perfection. Just look to be better.
Hey,
end it with that, man.
The legendary writer in the making right now.
Yeah, we got Deonte Staats, man, right here on Rogue Souls, man.
Deonte,
you already know.
So listen,
appreciate y'all, fellas.
Hey, you got anywhere they can follow you or?
Yeah. So check my stats. Stats is spelled STAATS, my last name, on Instagram, and then Always Right TV is where like all of my nonprofit, all the stuff as far as classwork and stuff is done.
Perfect right there, man. Listen, again, appreciate your time, man. It's D.
Stacks, man.
Hey, we out. Peace.
You can catch me in that RS always. I'm a scholar at this shit. I get all A's.